Star Trek promotes Lower Decks' first officer faster than Strange New Worlds #1. Star Trek has never been afraid to play with rank and promotion as both a plot device and a character arc. Sometimes, a Starfleet officer can go from cadet to captain in what feels like a warp speed career leap. Looking at you, James T. Kirk in 2009 Star Trek movie. Other times, a character can languish in the same rank for years, even decades, without an official step up the ladder. That's why it's both surprising and a little amusing that Star Trek Lower Decks has promoted its first officer far faster than Strange New Worlds has promoted its own. For a show that began as a lighthearted animated comedy about ensigns stuck at the bottom rung of the chain of command, Lower Decks has been steadily moving its crew up in rank. This isn't just lip service. By the end of Season 4, we saw actual, permanent promotions for our heroes. While the spotlight often goes to Mariner, Boimler, Tendi, and Rutherford, the Cerritos' bridge crew also benefits from career progression. Most notably, Commander Jack Ransom, the ship's swagger-filled first officer, has been portrayed as a character who's already climbed the ladder quickly. And in Lower Decks, promotions for command staff happen with a frequency that makes one wonder why other Starfleet shows take their sweet time. In contrast, Star Trek Strange New Worlds treats the idea of promotion with the same caution as approaching a Tholian web. Una Chin Riley, better known as Number 1, has been Christopher Pike's trusted first officer for over a decade in Star Trek canon. She's one of the most competent, decorated, and respected officers in the fleet, not to mention a central figure in the Enterprise's pre-TOS years. And yet, as of the end of Strange New World Season 2, she's still exactly where she started, Pike's first officer, without a hint of movement toward her own captaincy. This difference raises an interesting question. Why does Lower Decks, a comedy, treat Starfleet rank mobility more seriously than Strange New Worlds, a prestige drama? The Cerritos' culture versus the Enterprise's tradition. The Cerritos, by its very mission profile, is a ship that gives its officers more opportunities to prove themselves in varied scenarios. It's not a flagship like the Enterprise, so there's less of a need to keep the same senior staff frozen in place for stability's sake. Lower Decks plays with this freedom by showing characters rise in rank when they've earned it. Even though the show's comedic tone often undercuts its most heartfelt moments, its promotions have weight. Boimler's step up to Lieutenant Junior grade wasn't just a gag, it was a reflection of his growth. Jack Ransom, as the Cerritos' Number 1, operates in an environment where advancement feels more merit-based and less bound by the slow grind of Starfleet bureaucracy. He may still be a bit of a parody of the macho Starfleet officer archetype, but his authority and rank progression reflect a career that's been moving forward steadily. By contrast, the Enterprise has always been Starfleet's jewel, and Starfleet seems reluctant to mess with a winning formula. Pike's crew is famously stable, almost to a fault. Una has been his first officer for years before the events of Strange New Worlds, and unless there's a narrative push, she'll likely remain so until Pike's fateful accident and Kirk's eventual arrival. Starfleet's love of keeping its best officers exactly where they're most useful may make sense in universe, but it robs the character of career momentum. Narrative constraints are the real culprit. From a storytelling perspective, Strange New Worlds is boxed in by canon. We know Kirk takes over the Enterprise, and we know Spock remains aboard. That leaves Una in a narrative cul-de-sac. If she's promoted to captain, it either means she leaves the show or the Enterprise loses its defining first officer before the TOS era. This reality makes it hard for the writers to give her the same sort of career boost someone like Ransom can enjoy in Lower Decks, where the show's timeline and continuity are far more flexible. Animated comedies have the luxury of bending Star Trek rules to suit their pacing. Promotions can happen in between seasons without derailing the entire premise. Meanwhile, a live-action series set in a tightly defined slice of the timeline must tread carefully to avoid contradicting decades of established continuity. What this is about Star Trek's evolving approach. It's fascinating that the more comedic, freewheeling Star Trek series is the one that feels most faithful to the spirit of Starfleet's career ladder. In the real world, Star Trek's characters used to be static for years because television production demanded it. Promoting Riker to captain, for example, would have meant altering TNG's entire dynamic. But modern Trek seems split on how much it wants to embrace change. Lower Decks lets its characters evolve,